Okay guys, now that we've gone through the logistics of how DoorDash works, let's go through some timestamps. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. We are now going to go through some timestamps that I took from the PCA. Now I've gone through the probable cause affidavit several times, but I did not do what I did with the search warrants, which was sit down, do a rough draft of all of the times and events that I saw, and then put it all together in a nice little packet the way that I did the search warrant lists. I did that last night. It took me a few hours. But I feel like whenever I am looking at the timeline with a mix of both what we have from Brian's GPS, what we have from the security footage that watched the Elantra drive around, and the timestamps that we have from what apparently happened inside the house, it gives you a better perspective, and that's what we're going to go over right now. Now, I start this at 2:42 a.m., whenever they are stating that Brian Kohberger's phone was pinged at his apartment prior to then leaving the apartment and then going off network. And I'm starting there because at that point, we know that everyone that lives at 1122 King is at home. But also, this timestamp that starts Brian Kohberger leaving his apartment is pretty much the exact same time that we know that Maddie and Kaylee are back-to-back calling Jack D 10 times. And putting those two into perspective and kind of intertwining these timelines, you're gonna see what I mean. So at 2:42, the phone pings at Brian Kohberger's apartment. At 2:44, WSU cameras see the Hyundai Elantra going north on Southeast Nevada at Northeast Stadium Way. At 2:47, so 5 minutes after he has left his apartment area, he turns his phone off or goes on airplane mode. Whatever way, it goes off network. At 2:53, cameras show the white Elantra coming off of Stadium and going on to Highway 270. Now, 33 minutes later is whenever the car shows up in Indian Hills Drive in Moscow. I actually have a discrepancy with this because when we go further down and they're talking about the car leaving the neighborhood, in the PCA, Payne is just assuming the way that the Elantra left the neighborhood based on his knowledge of the area, okay? Well, then if he's showing up in Indian Hills, why, Mr. Payne, are you assuming that he took 270? Because if he took 270, he would have come out on the north side on the map, and he would have had to have gone south to get towards King Road. But instead, it looks as if he came up into the town through the south, came out towards Indian Hill, went around, and then would have had to cross under 270 to get to King. So why do they think that he went on 270 to get there, but they have all the video proof that they need that he went the long way around to get back to Pullman after he leaves Moscow? To me, the direction that they're showing with him popping up in Indian Hill shows me that he went the long way to get there too, which is why we have a 33-minute time gap for a drive that later on in the day takes him half an hour round trip. And we're going to get to that too. But that's another thing I wanted to mention. I don't believe that he went into town on 270 the way the PCA states. Just logistically based off the directions that we're getting. This just based off the addresses that they're giving us, that doesn't make sense. So again, he gets to Indian Hill after 33 minutes from the last time he's seen at 2:53 in Pullman. Then at 3:27 and into 3:29, he has now taken Steiner to get out of the Indian Hill area and is now in the King Road neighborhood. Now I want you guys to pay a lot of attention to this next segment of times, because I'm going to ask you a very serious question. Okay? Here we go. 3:29, the white Elantra is first seen entering King Road neighborhood. It doesn't show another piece of movement with a timestamp for the Elantra until 4:04. Now that is 25 minutes. And in this 25 minutes, this Elantra apparently made its original first 3 passes in front of the King Road house. Now this is a little bitty road, okay? There is no way that it took someone 30 minutes almost to pass by this house 3 times without having left the neighborhood several times and been seen going in and out the neighborhood several times. This thing is making it seem as if the car was in the neighborhood and just dilly-dallying around for half an hour. But then there gets to be a lot more detail in what the car is doing when it comes to be 4:04. At 4:04, after doing these first 3 passes in front of King, the car turns east on King, turned around at the Queen Road Apartments, number 52, which is very specific. Then it states that there is an unsuccessful parking attempt in front of King Road, and then the car turned around again. Then he goes down this way to where King and Queen intersect, does a 3-point turn, and then goes right back towards the King Road house. Now around this 4:04 timestamp, Dylan hears noises upstairs. And the PCA states that Xana receives a DoorDash order at approximately 4 a.m. Now I'm going to state again, look at the maps. This is a tiny neighborhood. If he got into the neighborhood at 3:30 and went straight to an apartment, that was not a DoorDash order. That was made an hour before. That is just now getting there, and he is lost in this little neighborhood for 30 minutes. No. And around this 4 a.m. time is when Dylan hears someone in the house mention the fact that someone is at the house. At 4:12, it shows that Xana's TikTok app is still active. And Dylan also hears a male voice around this time saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At 4:17, the PCA states that the cameras at 11:12 King pick up distorted sounds of voices, whimpering, a loud thud, and then the dog barking actually starts right at 4:17, which means that this approximate 4:17 is based on the time that the dog starts barking, but there is some time, it could be seconds, could be minutes, prior to that 4:17 dog barking that there is whimpering voices and a loud thud. Okay? Who was driving the car? Who's driving the car between 4:04, when the car goes east on King and does these 3-point turnarounds and goes and turns around at the Queen Road apartment, and 4:20, when it's finally seen hightailing it out of the neighborhood, while these things are happening inside of the Moscow house? Now, I've said a million times, I don't understand why the PCA does not list where he parked his vehicle. That we have all these specifications for these missed turns and horrible attempts to park, but whenever there's this time frame that we're supposed to think that not only the car was there and he was there and he was in the house and he was doing all these things, well, according to this, the car is still driving around, guys. According to this, between 4:04 and 4:20, while the car is doing all of these things out in the neighborhood, all these other things are happening inside the Moscow house. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? That's the question I have for you. Am I wrong?